Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dagger. My name is Rajan Rao. I'm here with my co-host Ramsey Mackin. It's been an eventful day to say the least. It's been the first 28, 29 or so hours of NBA free agency. A lot has happened. The league looks substantially different than it did literally just 2 days ago. We've been texting all day about the trades, the signings, how we think, certain teams should be acting, shouldn't be acting. But it all changed this evening around 6 p.m. when we got an ESPN notification that shook the world. And I called Ramsey instantly. We talked a little bit about it, and I don't want to talk any more about it. I think it's his turn to. He has some words. He has 7 things to say. Is that right?
It's about right. Yeah, thank you, Rajan. Thank you for all tuning in. And yes, it has been a very eventful news cycle as NBA free agency begins. And it happened. And we spoke about this on our last podcast, in our previous episode discussing LaMelo and Giannis. In the aftermath of the Giannis deal to the Heat, we spent quite a while talking about the effects on Jaylen Brown and how his relationship with the Celtics may have soured to the point of no return and what the possible trade destinations were for him. And so I lean towards the fact that he probably would be traded this summer. Not to say that I wanted him to be traded in particular, but that I felt like the Celtics could get a good return for him. And today he got traded. And again, just that fact alone isn't a terrible surprise. It still would have shocked me a little bit, but it wouldn't have shook me to my core. But today, around 6 p.m. Eastern time, like Rajan said, July 1st, 2026, it was one of those moments of like a where were you when? WWYW. I will always remember I was staying late in an office. I was having a good day. I was in the groove, working on a project. The office was pretty empty around 6, and my phone was on Do Not Disturb, and I check, and I have like 10 missed texts already, a bunch of tweets from Shams, and yeah, all right, I'll stop beating around the bush. Jaylen Brown, one of I'm not afraid to say this, he is my favorite athlete ever. He is the most important sports player to me in my entire life. Got traded today from the Boston Celtics, my favorite team, to the Philadelphia 76ers. And Rajan is already laughing. I haven't said a single other thing.
I know the next words are my least favorite team.
Yeah. If they're not my least favorite team, they're at least second or third. They're a division rival with the Celtics. My personal hatred ladder goes Heat, and then tied for second, Knicks, Sixers. So there you go. But that's okay, right? What did we get in return? Surely we got VJ Edgecombe, Surely we got like a unbelievable stash of draft capital. No, I'll tell you. We got I can't help but laugh. We got Paul George, who is let me tell you, 36 years old. Yep. As well as 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. The details of the picks from Shams: a 2028 first that could convert into a swap that's more favorable to Boston, a 2031 unprotected Philly first, and then 2 seconds, which I don't deem as relevant at all. So Jaylen Brown got traded essentially for Paul George and 2 first-round picks. When I saw this news, I just froze in my seat. I didn't know how to react. I was pretty hungry for most of the evening. I just lost all of my appetite. I felt a little sick. I wanted to scream, and I didn't know what to say at all. I didn't know what to tell people. I didn't know who to talk to. That's when Rajan called me. Fortunately, thank you, Rajan, for not immediately clowning on me. I mean, we both shared in the fact that we recognized how bad the deal was, but it didn't make me feel bad about it.
Of course,
at least not immediately, but it's gotten worse.
It'll come eventually. But yeah. But we're in agreement that this is one of the worst trades
in our lifetime.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll contextualize it a bit later, but some things right off the bat. this right now is the most disappointed I've ever felt as a Celtics fan. This is the most like sad, profoundly upset I've been, more so than when we lost in the playoffs this year. And the first place for a long time was 2023 when we almost came back from down 0-3 to the Heat in the conference finals. That meant so much to me, and we couldn't get it done. And I felt so depressed. Not like seriously, but just like, very upset after that playoff loss, because I thought that we would be able to make history, and we didn't. But this is different, dude. Yeah, so as I said, I'm not shocked he got traded. I am extremely shocked he got traded to the 76ers. If you guys listened to our last podcast with my mock trades, they weren't there. They weren't remotely on my radar because I didn't think that they had the assets that would be a good match for the Celtics, and I didn't really love the team fit for Jaylen. And I'll speak about that later again, just some foreshadowing. So I'd like to begin by saying thank you to Jaylen Brown. It was truly one of the greatest joys of my entire young adulthood and teenage years to watch him and Jason Tatum, the Jays, grow and develop together, win and lose playoff series, and through hardship, we saw triumph, we saw defeat, we saw them reach the apex, climb the mountain to win the championship. And that's something that nobody will ever be able to take away from all Boston fans. And at the very least, we got to see it happen. And one championship is worth so much more than none. So that makes me very grateful. And this number 7, he's someone who I'll always remember for these 10 incredible years of service since he was drafted 3rd overall in 2016. Just so many iconic plays, the dunks, the jams, the playoff threes, whatnot. I saw a stat actually on Wikipedia that the Jays winning the championship in 2024 was after 107 playoff games together, which is the most for any duo before winning a championship. So again, we just saw them so much. And that term, the Jays, is something that I've said for years. It's just such a cool nickname. It ceases to exist now. Tatum and Brown, just like peas in a pod or something. I don't know. PB&J, it's just gone. So
hit it where it hurts, Ramsey. Oh,
yeah, I know. I'm trying to tug at the heartstrings a little bit because my heartstrings
have been tugged.
Okay. No, it really does mean everything to me. So I'm going to analyze this trade and why I absolutely hate it. But first, I'll ask you, Rajan, how you felt looking at it at first, and what your thoughts are overall.
I think the first thing I thought was, wow, Philly just like completely changed the course of where their franchise is headed. Like adding what we said, top 7, 8, 9 player in the league to an already pretty talented roster, young roster, Maxey, Edgecombe, Embiid. I know we just talked about last week how the whole when healthy thing is kind of just, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because the whole point is that they're healthy and playing games. But when healthy, Embiid, a great coach, Nick Nurse, like they're in a great spot. And I think the other thing is, I was talking to my dad about this too earlier. We're used to seeing like so much like obviously obviously JB and Giannis are not exactly the same skill level. I think everyone would agree that Giannis is slightly above him, but not to the extent where the trade package back. I mean, look at how much the Heat gave to Milwaukee. They gave them 3 players, all of whom are arguably better than, well, not all of them, but at least Duncan Robinson is like on the same par as
I think you mean Hero, right? Yeah,
I meant Hero.
I know you meant him.
Yeah. On the same level as Paul George, especially at this point in his career. They gave him 3 of them and picks. I like, that was the most shocking part of it to me, was how little Boston got. And the thing is, we always praise Boston and Brad Stevens for having like a plan. and being super well, having done a really good job over the last 10 years of managing and organizing this Boston team to be competitive every year. I mean, the Celtics have been the most seen team in the playoffs. Have played the most games in the playoffs since the 2020 season started. Like for this decade, it's been the Boston show. It's every single year they're competitive. Um, so part of me wants to be like, yeah, like there's a plan, like they're going to use the picks, but it's still like that's not enough value for how much JB gave to Boston, I think. And I think it's disappointing to be a fan in this moment.
Not remotely enough. I agree. And yeah, I will dive into everything you mentioned through my notes, which I've organized. In honor of Jaylen Brown's number 7, I have 7 reasons why I absolutely despise this trade, why it makes me sick, and spoiler, why I would give the Celtics an F for this trade. And I'll talk about at the end why I would give the Sixers an A, because they fleeced, absolutely. Yeah, all right. So let's begin with the first and most important point, the horrendous package that we received in return. So let me run through Jaylen's stats. Jaylen Brown is 29 years old, turning 30 this upcoming season. He's a 5-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. He was the 6th best player in the NBA this year, 6th in MVP voting, 2nd team All-NBA. He was a Finals MVP and an NBA champion. He's coming off the best year of his career, where he averaged 28 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists on decent true shooting, leading the Celtics to 56-26 in a gap year, quote unquote, with them having the 2nd best offense, 4th best defense, and 4th best overall net rating. So you would think when trading a player of that caliber in his prime, quite literally, you would receive a very enticing package in return. And I'll talk about why the Celtics had to trade Jaylen Brown, or why it made sense at least for them to, in a little bit. But if you take that as a given, you would assume they get a plethora of first-round picks. You would assume they get actual young stars that act as first-round picks, right, who have played a little bit and have shown extreme flashes, right? But no, in return, we receive a 36-year-old Paul George. And again, in all fairness, Paul George is not a bad player. He's still quality enough to be a starter on an NBA team, on a good NBA team. He averaged 17 points last year. He also played 37 games due to a suspension and injuries. And he played 41 the previous season with a combination of tanking and injuries. Paul George has absolutely no reason in absolutely no way is he a good fit on this Celtics team, at least in my opinion. Of course, PG can slide into really any team, but he does not at all fill a positional need that the Celtics have, like for example, a really good playmaking point guard. I think that's what we're missing. I would have said center, but we signed Mitchell Robinson this morning, to my excitement, which I've lost all of now. But Paul George, of course, is less ball dominant than Jaylen Brown, so you could argue that his fit with Tatum is better. But he himself, the talent he contributes, and in the minutes where Tatum is on the bench and Brown leads the offense, that's all gone now. You have an ancient Paul George who's just a better as a catch and shoot operator and a pick your choice, dependent kind of defender. And now we have PG. And so, okay, whatever. Ancient Paul George, right? We also receive a 2028 pick, probably meaningless. The Sixers will be too good. A 2031 pick. Hey, I'm all for picks 5 years in the future. The Sixers might be terrible in 5 years. Not that they probably will be, but 5 years is a long time. But Jason Tatum in 5 years is going to be 33. So how did those picks help this iteration of the Celtics win? Now, of course, we saw the Celtics many years ago trade Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett for Nets first-round picks that turned into Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. And so one could argue that that something like that could happen. But again, that was a complete reset for the Celtics. They themselves were pretty bad in those years leading up to the Jays. And the Celtics have no reason to not try to be extremely competitive for the coming window. And I would also like to compare it to some other trades. Like you mentioned, the Giannis trade. Giannis received multiple, 3 or 4 like solid players and multiple picks. In the last week, or I think 2 days, we saw a old Kawhi Leonard go for Grady Dick, Brandon Ingram, 2 firsts, 2 unprotected firsts, 2 seconds, and 1 first swap. Objectively, a better package. Brandon Ingram better than Paul George, and the picks are better. Walker Kessler
and sorry, Jaylen Brown is better than Kawhi.
Yes, of course. When healthy, I mean, I think at their most healthy, Kawhi is like barely better. But overall, I'd rather have Jaylen.
Of course.
And you agree with me. So Walker Kessler in a sign and trade traded for 2 unprotected firsts and 2 pick swaps. Now, I don't think that's a fair comparison because I think that trade is just straight up egregious. But whatever. I'm not talking about the Lakers. This is a Celtics episode. Last year, Desmond Bane traded for KCP, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks. Multiple years ago, Mikal Bridges traded for 2 players, 4 unprotected first, and 1 protected first. And guess what? That worked. So congrats to the Knicks. They absolutely should not regret it. But this is just showing, trying to contextualize how much a first-round pick is worth in this modern NBA. Rudy Gobert, for example, traded to the Timberwolves from the Jazz for a bunch of first-round picks. How is Jaylen Brown this worthless? How? It doesn't make any sense. And here's another thing. Paul George. I remember in our previous episode, either you or Dylan mentioned how, because we were talking about bad contracts and we were looking at the highest paid players, we were like, we should do a draft of, like the worst contracts. And I think Bill Simmons and The Ringer do that. And I would love to take part in that. In their past worst contracts draft this March, Paul George went first or second. I don't remember. But he was definitely top 2, and Joel Embiid was the other one. And it was like a joke that the Sixers have the 2 worst ones. Specifically for the next 2 seasons, Paul George is making $54 and $56 million next year with a player option, which he'll obviously pick up. And so what doesn't make sense to me is I, as well as the entire NBA community, thought that if the Sixers were to somehow get off of the, PG contract, it would cost them a pick because it's like, we'll offload this contract onto you and we'll give you a pick to make it worth your while. And we'll get like barely anything in return. That's usually how salary dumping goes. And so if that's the case, then that means that Jaylen Brown was really only worth 1 pick because at least one of the picks has to be associated with how bad of a contract Paul George is. Again, despite him being a decent contributor in today's NBA. So was this just a salary dump? It does not make any sense to me.
Can I also add something about this?
I have some more notes about this. I'll let you jump in now.
Okay. The whole other thing, I mean, and I'm sure you're going to mention this later, so we can go more in depth later, but part of the reason that everyone was kind of hyping the Jaylen trade, besides the fact that there seemed to be some internal beef between him and Jason, and him enjoying the season where he got to lead his own team without Tatum. The other problem was how expensive they were going to be in the future together, and how we know that building a super team is unlikely to work unless everyone's willing to take major pay cuts to make it happen. So why would you go from, if the whole point is to have more role players on good contracts, why would you take Paul George's contract? Terrible contract.
No idea. That is my next point, so I'll give it back to you in a few minutes, okay? All right. So now let's assume that they had to trade Jaylen, right? My first question is, it was reported today by Shams on ESPN that the Celtics were actively shopping him, like they were actually getting offers from a bunch of teams. How was that the best package? Literally how? You remember my episode last week.
Yep.
The Blazers, the Hawks,
we went through like
the
8
Pelicans,
trades, dude.
The Rockets, the the Clippers. Like that was for Kawhi, so I guess that doesn't matter now. But there were so many teams that, of course, maybe a lot of my trades were optimistic from a Celtics fan perspective, and so they weren't super realistic. Like the Nuggets, Jamal Murray. Like, how was there not another team that gave something of value, like an actual multiple players that can contribute? I literally said, if we're trading him, we need to trade him for depth, or we need to trade him for some young pieces like Şengün and Jabari Smith. And this is all we had. It was also reported by Shams today that Jaylen Brown never requested a trade. He never actually went to the Celtics and said, I want out. Now, there's many reasons to suggest why he would want out. Like you mentioned, he enjoyed having his own team. He said that this was his favorite season of his career. He doesn't truly seem to be great friends with Jason. But guess what? It doesn't matter. He's still an employee of the Boston Celtics, and there's absolutely no world where and I'm jumping ahead, but like this trade does not make the Celtics better. I 100% would have just kept him. Even if this was the best offer I got, or if it was the only offer I got, I would have said no, thank you. It's better for the Celtics in the short term and long term to keep him in the circumstance. Okay, and then let's even lock it down further. Let's say not only do you have to trade Jaylen Brown, but you have to trade him to the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, you actually could have convinced me that was like, hey, if we got VJ Edgecombe, of course, I wouldn't give Tyrese Maxey if I were the 76ers, but let's say they gave us VJ. Let's say they gave us LeBaron Philon, who was a rookie, will be a rookie this year, who was picked like 21st or so. He was the Jared McCain comp I made in the last episode. At least that would be a little bit exciting for the Celtics. We don't get him. Guess what? The Sixers also have one of the best draft assets in the entire NBA. They have the Clippers unprotected 2028 first-round pick. That pick should be very enticing. The Celtics couldn't get that? How bad could the negotiations possibly have gone? It doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. Now I have a little game for you. So now it's just one question I'm gonna ask, but I explained Jaylen Brown's stats and accolades, and I explained the package that he got. So I want you to think about, given JB's like what he received or what we got in exchange for him, how much would this player go for? This hypothetical player. This player, who I will not name, averaged 28 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. Very similar to JB. He also averaged 2 steals. And among the rest of the NBA, he was actually better than Jaylen, like marginally. He was 3rd in MVP voting and 3rd in DPOY. So a really great all-around player, but similar counting stats to JB, and his team had a similar record, I believe. So how do you feel about that player, and how many, say, like picks would that type of player go for?
Wait, and we're talking about this season, right?
Yeah, sure.
Wait. Oh, this is not a real person.
Well, it is.
Oh.
It is a historical player, and I'm just saying, like, if you were to think.
Oh, how much would they go for?
Yeah.
Okay, at least, we're talking, this is better than JB. I mean, technically speaking, because we're saying 3rd in MVP voting, so he's probably a first team All NBA.
Yes, he was.
This is at least 3 role players on the team that he's going to. At least you have to get something back from this, and they can't be old guys either. They got to be serviceable in their maybe even mid to late 20s, and then probably 2 firsts, maybe unprotected, maybe not. I think that's not as important, and then probably like a couple seconds, basically identical to the Giannis trade.
Okay, so you think Giannis type package? You think better than this Jaylen one, like some more players, a young player, maybe.
But one honestly, for the Jaylen one, I would only knock off maybe one of the picks. Like it's not that marginally different. Like the difference between these 2 players is this tiny little bit. Okay,
I'm glad you said that, because you know what player that is? Paul George in 2019 when he got traded for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And 5 first-round picks, and another pick, and 2 seconds. Oh, wait, sorry. 2 first-round pick swaps. I'm sorry, I'm yelling into my mic. I got to fix this later. That Paul George, who now is getting traded like he's a Diet Dr. Pepper and a bag of Fritos for Jaylen Brown, who is worthless. How is he worthless?
This
doesn't make any sense to me. How is he so unimportant? All right, moving on. I thought that could be interesting. I mean,
it is interesting because he's on the receiving end of it, and he's still benefiting from it. His terrible contract is he's going to have 2 years in Boston, Ramsey.
He absolutely is. Congrats to his agent. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad Stevens and Sam Presti are pretty comparable, as all things say, but or as most things go. But here we are. Okay, so now let's move on to my second point. This does not solve one of the biggest issues of the Brown and Tatum situation, which you hinted at, the financial situation. We need to handle our financial situation. Are we a nation of states? What's the state of our nation? All right. So the issue was that the ownership group for the Celtics
are past patiently waiting.
All right, we're done. The issue for the Celtics is that the ownership group was terrified of 2 supermaxes, right? Okay, I understand that. In fact, I'm one of the leading proponents on the internet about that. I'm not an active on the internet that much, but in this little podcast that we have, I've been saying for months now that 2 $70 million, $65 million players is impossible to build a good team around. It just literally is impossible. So Jaylen Brown has 3 more years left on his deal. $57 million, $61 million, $65 million. He deserves all of that money. Like I said, he's a top 6 player in the NBA. At least he was this season. Jason Tatum, 4 more years left on his deal, which is more every year. And again, as I said, it goes another year with a player option. Now, going from Jaylen Brown to Paul George, you would at least hope we shave some money off, right? That we can use some cap space to sign free agents. That is not the case. This next year, Paul George has a contract that is $3 million less than JB, 54 versus 57. Then the next year, it's about $4 million less than JB, 61 versus 56.5. 2 of the most expensive contracts in the NBA. We literally traded the 7th most expensive contract this year for the 11th. If we were going to trade Jaylen Brown, we had to trade it for a young player who's cheap or multiple assets. I mean, that's why I love that NAW deal, because he's on such a good contract, like a favorable team contract. But this is the literal opposite of that. And good players deserve to be paid very highly, like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But really old veterans, I love everything Paul George has done for the NBA. He is not remotely worth $54 million in today's climate, right?
No way.
And obviously, this does shorten the financial liability timetable. It's 1 less year. So you have Jaylen Brown for 3 years, and now you have Paul George for 2. That is literally the only pro I could see in this entire trade, by the way. Like, that's the only logical explanation I have, is that now, of course, the Celtics are not going to give Paul George a big extension. If they give him an extension, it should be very small. But now the Celtics have, I guess, some cap flexibility a year early. But guess that's like handicapping ourselves for 2 years for no reason, assuming that we stick with PG. When
especially
again,
because JB never wanted to leave.
Same contract value, I would have rather had JB.
Yep.
That's what you're saying. So if this is just about getting out of money sooner, what's the point? Like, why are we, resigning and like hurting ourselves for the next 2 years when the entire rest of the East is getting better? Not just the Sixers, which I'll mention shortly. That's one of my key points, but also the Raptors, but also the Knicks, who just won the championship, but also the Pistons, who signed John Collins, but also the Magic, who have a new coach. I don't know if they'll be great, but
also
the Pacers, the entire West. Yeah, I'm trying to ignore them, but okay, yeah. Anything on the financials or?
I'm just looking at the contract thing, and we did this last week, so we don't already beat the dead horse any more than we already did. But like, I'm gonna just give you the 15 names after Paul George who are getting paid less than Paul George. And in theory, who are should be valued way higher.
Okay.
Kawhi Leonard, Zach LaVine.
I'd rather have Paul George right
Sure.
now, so that's okay.
Cade Cunningham,
Yikes.
Evan Mobley,
Yikes.
Jamal Murray,
Yikes.
Larry Markkinen,
Yikes.
Donovan Mitchell,
Yikes.
Trey Young. Yeah, what the heck?
I mean, slightly yikes though.
Yeah. Okay. Here's what I have a bunch of yikes. Luca, Ant,
Okay.
Hallie, Siakam, Sabonis, Anunoby. Okay, I'm gonna stop there because the next one is Zion and then Ja.
All right. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, that's egregious, Ramsey. I'm so sorry, dude.
Yeah. As I said, all those mock trades I made last week, besides like Kawhi and Jamal Murray, who have very expensive contracts and are great current players, were for multiple players because it makes more sense to replace a very expensive contract with shorter contracts and multiple contracts because it's more flexible. So where is the financial flexibility in this trade? What are we gaining? That was supposed to be one of the biggest selling points of the entire thing. I don't even understand. Like, and now I guess if you look at an outlook like 5-6 years in the future, yes, I guess hypothetically then only Jason Tatum will be making a ungodly amount of money, and then the rest of the team will be more flexible, and we won't have to deal with Jaylen. But I would have wanted to deal with at least a couple more years, and I would never, ever have signed up for this in exchange. Okay, moving on. Now, this is, of course, a very important point. I talked about the assets we got in return, and I talked about the financial flexibility. Now let's just speak about how the Celtics are going to be worse, okay? I am very extraordinarily confident in that this trade shortens the Celtics championship window. As I stated, Jaylen Brown is 29, and Paul George is 36. I mean, you thought that Celtics Shaq was bad. Dude, Celtics PG-13 is genuinely going to be so much worse. It's going to be hilarious, though, I'll tell you that. Look, Paul George, he's a good shooter. He's actually a quality defender still at his age. He defended Jaylen and Jason in the series that the Celtics lost to the Sixers this year. But he also has an injury history, and he got suspended for some reason. And here he is now, still suiting up and still getting traded like he's worth the contract he has. Now, look, in terms of basketball fit, like I stated, it's okay. He does fit into the starting lineup decently well. But I don't believe that he's an upgrade in the slightest, and no person in the world does. Despite all of the advanced stats about JB, nobody cares about the advanced stats. I'll tell you guys that right now. I mean, even though I myself pull up things like true shooting and the rating and VORP and all these fun stats, like, no, Jaylen Brown is not a net negative player. Can you just get that out of your head for once in your life? The Celtics won 56 games this year. Let's just stop there and relax a little bit, okay? Like, it's not that complicated. And I know for a fact that Paul George is not an upgrade. So here's the thing. And Rajan, you can pull up the standings while I say this, but the Giannis trade discussion, you would agree, Rajan, was for the Celtics to raise their playoff ceiling, right? It was to unlock a new level of
it's win now
chemistry and do a win now trade. Giannis, at least, is much younger than Paul George, and he's only a couple years older than Jaylen, and extend the window and change how the roster is built for the better. This is lowering the ceiling. This is bringing down the roof, you know? Like, I was excited about Mitchell Robinson this morning because I was like, that's a great fit. Stealing him from a competitor in the East that firmly puts the Celtics in second. And now I don't know. And so now that you have the standings up, I want you to say some teams, and I want to try to decide if this iteration of the Celtics is now better or worse than them.
Okay, we'll go top down from last season. So we'll start with Detroit.
I don't know. I think the Detroit roster is better.
Yeah, with Duncan, with who they signed today, John Collins, right?
Yep.
That's great. Okay. Obviously, number 2 last year was Boston. Next is the reigning champs, the New York Knicks.
The Knicks should have a better regular season. They did lose Mitchell Robinson and Ariel Hakporti They also re-signed Landry Shamet, and I think that they should be able to pick up someone else. But at the very least, they're keeping their entire starting lineup. They're going to be good.
Yep. And they're coming off of an electric playoff run.
Yes.
Okay, next is Cleveland.
I mean, that's debatable. It's like two good regular season teams, neither of whom I'm ready to trust yet. I will lean the Celtics, but it's not by a lot. And again, last season or before the JB Paul George trade, I would have said for sure. So
yeah. Also, I know we already talked about LeBron probably going to the Warriors, which we'll figure out in the next couple of weeks. But there is a lot of Cavs reunion stuff, which would automatically make them at least top 2, if not number 1 in the East.
Probably second. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next would be Toronto, and this is post Kawhi, reunion.
Extraordinarily debatable. I'll take the Celtics, but I mean the Raptors are very good with Scotty Barnes and recovering like Barrett and Quickly and Colin Murray Boyles, and now you have Kawhi. Like, dude, Kawhi is arguably, as we mentioned already today, better than Jaylen Brown if you get it to have him for a full playoff series. I think the Raptors are like sneaky contenders. So I don't know. Like as I said, the East is now so competitive. So I'll take the Celtics a little bit though.
Okay, let's go. The next is Atlanta, and I think that this one should be.
I'll take the Celtics.
Yeah.
The Hawks haven't gotten better yet.
No. Philly.
See, this is what I'm not ready to talk about yet. Like, we'll talk about the Sixers later in the pod, so I'll save some of it for that. But the Sixers starting lineup is arguably the best in the NBA, maybe the best in the East, maybe. And their bench has a lot left to be desired, but I think the Sixers could definitely have a better regular season record. I'll lean towards no because of the Embiid injury problems, but it's certainly possible.
Yeah, and that's a solid big 3. Edgecombe, Maxey, Brown. Damn.
And Embiid. Okay.
We're going to discount him from the
you're
big
not
3 because of the injuries.
In
case. Orlando. Your other team.
Yeah, I mean, both the Magic and Celtics are falling so far behind the rest of the competition this offseason. I think the Celtics should be better, but like I said, same with the Raptors and same with the Cavs. I honestly don't know.
Okay. Obviously, I think they're going to be better than Charlotte, although a lot of people are acting like we shouldn't sleep on Charlotte. I think I'm still sleeping on them a little bit, at least for now. Miami.
I'm taking the Celtics, but who knows?
Really?
Of course. Come on.
Giannis you come on. You come on. No, you come on.
No. Giannis. No, I'm not talking about this, bro. The Celtics are better than the Heat right now.
Really, Ramsey?
Yes.
Okay. Davion Mitchell, Tim Hardaway Jr., Andrew Wiggins.
Yep.
Giannis and Bam. 83? Bam?
Well, Bam Kobe. Okay, and let me lay this on you.
Lay it on
Pritchard,
me,
Derek White, Paul George, Jason Tatum, Mitchell Robinson.
This is going to be the worst hack-a-mitch of all time. Bam's going to foul out. Giannis is going to foul. Oh, yeah. I can't wait for this Eastern Conference Finals. This is going to be great. Okay, so I would lean towards the Heat, but maybe I'm just doing that to piss you off. I think the rest of them... Oh, I almost said the rest of them are irrelevant. Actually, not true at all. I'm going to skip Milwaukee, Chicago, and Brooklyn. I don't think that's going to have any, bearing. Indiana, fully healthy, hopefully Hallie, Indiana.
Healthy Indiana, back in the form they should be. Guess who they signed today? Kelly Oubre. Amazing fit. Great steal. Slides right in on the bench.
Oh, yes, he does.
That healthy Pacers lineup playing at the finals level that they played at is better than the Celtics for sure.
Yeah.
And so I guess comfortably I'm sitting here telling you the Celtics are now like 4th or 5th when I would have said they would be 2nd.
And I don't think that's going to change much for Washington with the
No, they might be a playing team, but no.
Okay, but still, that knocks them down to the 5 probably, maybe 4,
maybe. Yeah.
and they still got to play all those teams in the playoffs. That's the other part of it. It's not just the regular season. This is rough, dude.
So there you go. All right. So there's a little exercise about how I feel this actually lowered the Celtics window and current standing in the East. Okay, moving on. Number 4. The Celtics roster is now uncomfortably different. I spoke a little bit about what the roster looks like now. As I said, it's Derek White, it's Peyton Pritchard, it's Paul George, it's Jason Tatum, it's Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson and Paul George. That makes me feel a little bit uneasy saying both of those guys are on my team. Guess who we also signed today? Mike Conley. What a legend. One of the greatest unks in the NBA, entering his 20th season. It's great to see these guys have such incredible longevity, but he is barely going to play, right? Off the bench, we still have everyone we need. We have Hauser, Jordan Walsh, Keita, my dude, Luka Garza, Baylor Shireman, Hugo Gonzalez, and then Chris Sinak Jr. hopefully plays some good minutes, and then Ron Harper Jr. And so, I don't know. Like, obviously, I still think that's a pretty good team, but I feel like something is missing. Like, losing Jaylen is, after watching him play all season without Tatum, is going to feel really off. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, hey, we played a whole season without Jason. We were just fine. So let's ship off Jaylen, and now that Tatum is the one running the show, we'll be equally as good. And that's all fine and dandy, but there's no way that having both of them would have been any worse than having just one of them. And no matter what you say about, I think George and Tatum will still be good together. They will not have been better than Brown and Tatum. That's how it works. There's no more analysis needed. We saw the Jays win a championship together. That's all you need. Okay, so that makes me a little bit uneasy, and the team just being so different already. I don't like it. Okay, another thing. I'm going to talk a little bit about Philadelphia. I'm saving the full analysis for the end, but again, a fifth reason why I don't like this trade. I don't think that Jaylen is a great basketball fit or personality fit in Philadelphia. First of all, he is a massive upgrade over PG. As I said, they fleeced. But as we discussed, Jaylen went on his Twitch stream and talked about how excited he was to have played the season and been the best option on the team, and that it was his favorite season of his career. That's what he said, and he implied that he enjoyed carrying the torch, even though he won Finals MVP and all, because he probably knew deep down in his heart for most of his career that he was playing second fiddle to Tatum. And guess what? Now he's in Philadelphia. He's not the best player. Like, okay, last season, technically, he was the highest in MVP voting. But, dude, now he's playing with Maxey, who's third-team All-NBA, and Joel Embiid, who has won an MVP and, when healthy, will be running the offense. And so you're going to see a lot of nights where Jaylen Brown is getting the third most touches. That's just how it's going to go. And I don't think that Brown fits very well next to a ball-dominant point guard in the slightest. Like, I think that his years with Kyrie in 2018 and 17 were like a little bit weaker. And again, those were pretty young JB years. So not to discredit, obviously he was worse during them, but he got to shine more with Kemba and Kyrie leaving and getting to play with guards who are better. I guess initiating offense, but not like conducting it by themselves, whether that be Marcus Smart or Peyton Pritchard or Drew Holiday. And so I think he'll obviously be great because replacing Paul George with Jaylen Brown can't make it worse. I just don't think it can. But I don't really love the fit, and that's why I wasn't suspecting the Sixers at all on my radar. And I'll also say Jaylen Brown doesn't really like Joel Embiid. I sent you guys that clip. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a literal clip on his podcast of Jaylen talking about the flopping problem in the NBA, right. And he name-dropped Joel Embiid as an example of a great player who was just constantly acting to get calls from the referees. And so, is he really going to enjoy playing with him? Who knows? That just confuses me. That's just part of why I don't like this trade. overall, not just from the Celtics perspective, because like it's so strange to me. And in that same breath, we got to talk about the just simple fact that the Celtics, my number 6 reason, traded him to a division rival. We are now helping one of our greatest historical rivals in NBA history. The Celtics and Sixers like literally hate each other. This past season, they beat us in the playoffs in the first round, right? In 2023, though, we beat them in 7. In 2020, we beat them in 4. In 2018, we beat them in 5. Where Joel Embiid had a quote in that series saying, "This is not a rivalry. I don't know our record against them, but it's pretty bad. They always kick our ass." He said that in 2018 and then lost 2 series later. So that's Jaylen Brown's playoff experience against the Sixers. And this year, with the Sixers winning, marked their first playoff series win over the Celtics since '82. The two of them have played the most playoff either series or games, I don't remember, in NBA history against between any two teams. It's a very storied rivalry. And so I'm just so afraid of Jaylen going to that team, a team that most Celtics fans despise, because you know that he is going to torch us in the playoffs or some regular season like Christmas Day, whatever have you game, some Saturday night. He's going to drop 50 points. He's going to show to the world why picking Tatum over him was a bad decision. I certainly hope it won't be, but I'm very stressed about that. And I really love Jaylen, and I really want to be able to root for him. But I can't, in good conscience, root for him now because I just don't like the Sixers that much. So, any thoughts on him going to Philly in particular, like Philly versus Boston?
I'm sorry. I hope we have another Celtics jersey, Ramsey. I think that's all I have to say is like, I mean, you already kind of said it. I'm not sure that this fit with Embiid will work, but I also don't really know if it'll matter if Embiid's going to be hurt, um, for a significant chunk of the season. From a chemistry perspective, especially considering how he just dissed him on the pod. Yeah. That's the other thing. If the concern was, let's send, like, the chemistry is not good because Jaylen doesn't like Jaylen, well, then why would you send him to a place where Jaylen doesn't like Joel? Or Joel. Oh, that was kind of tough.
Sure,
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't think it does. Well, it's not the Celtics' problem whether Jaylen likes his new team or not. But like, obviously, there should be more concerned about the return. But I'm just saying, like, the whole trade doesn't make sense because I think the Sixers were the best fit for him. Yeah. Okay, and then finally, I do not think that this trade, number 7, makes sense for Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens indicated in his press conference that it was very important for the Celtics to shift from a outside heavy, 3-point heavy offense that Joe Mazzulla is very famous for being responsible for, and lean much more into an inside out type of play style, which is clearly the more important type of offensive design that teams need nowadays, is evident by the Knicks as well as the Thunder and Spurs. And so I thought that would be an appropriate fit, and that's what made Giannis seem so important to the future of the Celtics. And I was actually afraid of that. Like I said, I think that the Giannis injury concerns and aging curve for stars at that point in their careers usually is not very favorable. But oh my God, I didn't know that it could get so much worse. Like, I would give anything to have Giannis right now, dude. I would. And to think that in that trade, like Brad Stevens said, that Hugo Gonzalez, our 28th pick rookie, who played minutes and is pretty good defensively, was untouchable. Like, that is just unfathomable to me, given that this is now the return that we're getting now, and the pressure on Hugo and the other bench players is just ridiculous to try to fill some of that role that JB left. And of course, a lot more on Tatum, that's for sure. But I'm not going to lie. Like, I know you mentioned earlier that you feel like you got to trust Brad. I agree. Like, I really want to trust him. But this is just egregious. This feels like nothing he's ever done. And with that said, I think that there has to be more to come. I don't think that this can be the end, like, of whatever sort of deals he's making to set up the future of the Celtics. And full disclosure, what I'm about to say, this may not happen this offseason. He might wait quite a while, but I will say the Celtics do have a lot of first round picks. Like, you compare them to the Lakers, who have like almost zero control of their first round picks in the future, compared to I believe the Timberwolves have like almost none, right? The Celtics, meanwhile, have almost all of their own first round draft picks to trade, including now excluding, a swap to San Antonio in 2028 and a straight up pick to Portland in 2029. But we have our own 27, 30, 31, 32, and 33. Now we have these two new ones from Philly. I think that Brad Stevens, and the Celtics are positioning themselves to try to be more competitive with Jason by being able to retool and trade for another superstar who might fit better than Jaylen and him do now, and that makes me a little bit sad because I don't know how many players there are like that. But I think that if there is one who becomes available, say in a year, maybe 2 years when Paul George's contract is up, it will be because the Celtics have these extra picks that they'll be able to do that. And so maybe in 2029 we'll be celebrating a Celtics championship thanks to these picks that allowed us to grab some other superstar. But right now it feels irrelevant, and it feels like we're delaying potential victories just for like a possible long-term game we don't really know about. So I really wish for the best for Brad Stevens, and I hope he's right because he's so much smarter than I am. But
the
good luck to
supposed
him.
thing is interesting because like it'd be one thing if it was like a team that was like more on the cusp of like breaking into that like contender territory, and then they were being conservative with their stuff, and then maybe trying to position for 4 or 5 years down the road. Okay, sure. Not when you just won a championship 2 years ago and you have two All NBA guys on your roster, like, and you didn't get, like, again, you already said this, so I don't need to say it again, but like, if they had gotten more for Jaylen Brown and the vision was retooling for the future, even that would be good. Even if it was role players that could become future vets for the plethora of picks that Boston has for being a contending team in the East. Okay, they don't got it though, bro. They don't got it.
No, they don't. Again, I spoke about the package at the beginning because that was the most egregious part. But yeah, so those are my 7 reasons why I give the Celtics an F for this trade, or why I give the overall trade an F. Obviously, the Sixers, I give an A. And so let's talk about the 76ers. Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, Joel Embiid. Wow, that is an incredible top 4, maybe the best in the NBA. But it's dangerous, Being top heavy always has costs, like I've stated many times before. I think that you can really only have like 2 great players, and besides that, it's much better to have like people who are perfect in their roles and who have very few weaknesses. I think that Joel Embiid has a weakness. I think he is often out for like half of a playoff series. He barely played against the Knicks this year. I don't know if he played at all. Maybe one game, but he was great against the Celtics, and that's all that mattered to win the first round, right? Jaylen Brown has had issues in the playoffs as well. Tyrese Maxey is great, but he's been overplayed a lot, and I hope he doesn't have injury problems. We don't know yet. Similar for VJ, and so it's a little dangerous of a currently constructed roster. They did sign Dean Wade, who I'm excited about. They have Dominic Barlow, they have Adem Bona, Justin Edwards, Ariel Hukporti, and LeBron Philon, who's their new rookie, who I'm excited about for sure. And their title odds have certainly skyrocketed. They are now, according to FanDuel, the 5th best odds in the NBA to win the championship, behind the Spurs, Thunder, Knicks, and Celtics. So that gives me a little bit of comfort with the Celtics, and maybe the Celtics aren't taking as big of a step back as a lot of us think. But I don't know. I'm not one to just blindly trust futures bets like that. And so In terms of a basketball perspective, though, what doesn't make too much sense to me, and you let me know if you agree with me, Rajan, is that uh, Jaylen Brown is best when he's in the one running the offense and he has the ball in his hand most of the possession, right? Uh, the same exact thing is true as for Tyrese Maxey. The same exact thing is true for Joel Embiid. In all of their best seasons that they have had, their usage rate percentages have been very high, above average. And so, how does a team with three players, none of whom are like really great off-ball players, I would say Brown has to lean into that more, and so does Maxey. Um, how does a lineup with three of them fit together well?
They probably, well, we know for a fact that Embiid is not going to want to be sharing the wealth, so to speak, right? Like that's like established as like a thing of him as a characteristic of him playing the game. I could see Maxi being more okay with, I guess, emotionally more okay with it. But yeah, like you said, the usage rates don't lie, and Jaylen Brown literally just said that this season was his favorite season. So this is like kind of like the I feel like I always use this comparison, but I'm going to use it again. It reminds me of the attempted KD Nets where they had three super high usage ball dominant scorers trying to and again, that was honestly more plagued by injury than anything else. But I don't think that the it just doesn't make sense. And again, I know you said this earlier as well. It's not like the Celtics are responsible for um how the trade fits for JB, right? Like they're really more concerned about what they get in return. Well, obviously not that much because they got nothing in return.
Well,
As you put
that's
it,
true.
a bag of Fritos and a Diet Coke. But
Yeah,
this is not the fit that Jaylen Brown obviously wants. He wants
I
somewhere like
completely agree.
Atlanta or uh I don't know. We talked
Yeah,
about LA. Like
I just think the basketball fit, all of the best teams in recent history are very balanced, well constructed, lack flaws, very deep. Just think about the Pacers, the Thunder, and the Spurs
Knicks.
and the Knicks. Yes, so unlike the Suns, for example, or recently the Bucks with Dame and Giannis, like it's very difficult with multiple superstars to win if you don't have really good pieces around them. And I don't know for sure if the Sixers will be able to. Now they should have some cap flexibility next season because they'll have Barlow and Watford's contracts will be over, and I don't know exactly where they stand with a lot of the other contracts, but maybe they'll have some flexibility to be able to make a good move. But I'm just shocked time and time
Yeah.
again that the Sixers are able to do this because like they had Ben Simmons and I was like, oh well, this era is over. And then they traded for James Harden and I was like, well, I guess I have another chance with Embiid. And then they traded for Paul George and I was like, well, I guess I have another chance with Embiid, but I don't believe it. And now they traded for Jaylen Brown. And now I'm like, well, I guess I still have another chance. Like I've been telling our friend Megan Bailey for years that the Sixers window is close shut. And every time somebody like pries it open a little bit and then it like falls back down on their fingers and it hurts a little bit. And now they like swung it completely wide open again by kicking PG out. Meanwhile, it closed the door for the Celtics. Not fully, I would say. There's still a little ajar, but all right. Enough of my analogies. It's a little bit concerning. So, in terms of the Sixers for the contracts, they have to decide if Jaylen Brown gets a contract extension, a max. I think he's going to have to get one. It's the only reason why you would trade for him if you're going to pay him very long term next to Maxey. And then the question is like, is Tyrese Maxey and Jaylen Brown a duo, a superstar duo? Because Embiid doesn't have many excellent years left in the NBA. Um, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna lean towards no.
hmm
I'm gonna lean towards not maybe a championship duo, but a like great quality competitive duo. And then finally, the only thing I'd love to say is how funny is it that in 2016, the 76ers had the first overall draft pick and they took Ben Simmons. And second went Lonzo Ball. And third went Jaylen Brown. And now here he is playing for the city that passed on him. I'm so eternally grateful for the Sixers taking Markelle Fultz and Ben Simmons when they could have taken J and J, and that's why we have this championship. And yeah, I guess I didn't mention that earlier, but no one can take that away from us. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown won an NBA championship, and they did all technically that they need to, that anybody ever needs to try to do. And so I will always be happy a little bit in my heart if Jaylen wins another championship for the Sixers. I will be very upset because I don't like the Sixers on that level, but for him as a person, I'll always like him, and I'll always be grateful for what he did for the city and for me as a fan. And I think that I'm going to have to write a really, really long piece about how much he actually means to me, because what I've said here is not remotely close to expressing how important he's been to me as a fan. But I don't know, those thousands of words or whatever that I end up writing will be posted somewhere so people can see. So anyway, any closing thoughts on Jaylen Brown and Paul George, Rajan? Or
You said all that needs to be said, Ramsey.
I know. I said a lot more than what needs to be said. And I appreciate anybody who listened to my kind of ramblings and my tirade here. It's been an emotional day for me. It's already July 2nd now. We're past midnight. And hopefully when you're listening today, things are a bit calmer. And maybe the sun will rise on the Celtics again, but who knows?
LeBron on July 4th.
No.
Oh yes, it's happening. I already talked to Bron. That's what we call him.
Oh yeah. You call me? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I call him Levy, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice for you.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of other free agency and trade news. Rajan and I will be back to talk about Walker Kessler and all of the other Lakers moves. Colin Sexton, Austin Reeves, Mamoukshaveli, Quentin Grimes. We'll also talk about John Morant to the Portland Trailblazers. What? That's a little bit crazy, right?
It's a little bit crazy.
Don't love that fit. But I expect another move to happen. We're going to talk about Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors. Very exciting. Makes them very good, and they're now top 10 in the odds as well. Tobias Harris to the San Antonio Spurs. Are the Spurs the best team in the West? For sure, because I don't think the Thunder have made any moves. I'm missing the John Collins to the Pistons. Jalen Duren should be leaving. We don't know for sure yet. I assume now to the Kings because Kessler signed with the Lakers and Duren has lost a lot of leverage with the Pistons. And that would be depressing, but I guess we'll talk about that. And the main thing that left, of course, that everybody's waiting for is LeBron, who will not be a Laker anymore and who will probably be a Warrior, maybe a Cav, or maybe I also saw the Heat. I really just think he should go to the Warriors and have some fun because he's not winning a championship anyway. So
I will say,
look, again, he could.
With him in pods, man.
All right. And I mentioned, would you trade AirPods for Bronny just to keep Bron happy?
Of course I would.
Okay, great.
Of course.
You probably would regardless. Even if Bron wasn't coming, you still would.
Yeah, it's pods, bro. It's pods.
Yeah.
It's trash. Oh my god. I could go on a rant.
I'm
not going to do that.
Pods for Paul George.
Why am I taking Paul George?
Because the auction.
Yeah, I will say I just saw an article saying that the Sixers are interested in signing LeBron.
Oh, I'm sure they're interested. Yeah, I'm sure the Jazz are interested. I'm sure the Kings are interested.
Well, the Seahawks are interested too.
Yeah,
just so everyone knows.
I saw UCF is interested, dude. Okay, yeah, the Bills are interested.
Yep. I actually think I think if LeBron signed with the Sixers, I think you would
What would happen to me?
You would die.
Your
spirit would be broken.
You probably would never see me again. I would love to.
And they would win.
I would love to say that I would never watch basketball again, or I would never do this pod again. But you know for sure that I would. And
could you imagine that coming at you? You and the Celtics with nothing left, and it's Maxey, Edgecombe, Jaylen Brown, LeBron, and Embiid. That's genuinely an all-star team.
That's 100% like a starting all-star team.
Oh, I can't wait.
Don't. No. I'm not here to talk about hypotheticals, bro. I got a podcast to edit. We gotta go to bed.
Yeah. We got work in the morning.
We
sure do. Just mine starts a little later than yours.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. Make sure to follow us on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter.
Thanks for the clarification.
I will be a bit more emotionally stable in the next episode, of course, and we'll have more to discuss. Rajan, thank you for joining me on this fine evening. Of course, Ramsey.
I really enjoyed listening to this rant. It was enjoyable for me. Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This means everything to me, man. Thank you, Jaylen Brown. And all right. See you guys next time.
Yep. Good night or good morning or good day. You know.
How many times are we gonna do this, bro?
All right. Good night.
See you guys.
Bye. Later.
Bye.